that would have happened.
Right.
I mean, when you look back at it, if he had to pay for the switches,
Right.
none of that would have happened.
Right.
What's your take on it?
Well, putting it that way, what you're speaking to is justice, real justice.
Absolutely.
That if Rodney King was not speeding through Simi Valley, he never would have been pulled over. If he wasn't drunk, he probably wouldn't have been speeding. Ferguson. Yes, the real challenge is that our people are out of control.
Absolutely.
And this is what makes it better for the white races.
Absolutely.
It's like, look at the problem we have. It's like our own people, we've been dealing with this for centuries. That a prophet rises and says, people, let's get together. The devil's coming. The people take that same prophet and throw him on, right? In fact, they crucify him. The prophet's gone, the devil comes, eats up all the people. This has been our repeated history for tens of thousands of years. It's not going to stop today. What's going to happen is Ferguson going to go down, and more people that are righteous are going to get more righteous. People who are home with their kids going to be more home with their kids. People already sending their kids to college or send them to events like what we just had here, they're going to find more of them to send. People like me who speak to young people and try to raise young people up to their level of godhood, we're doing more work now. We're doing more work because of the motivation of Ferguson, of these places. Now, somebody like me, I've been doing this my whole life. It's not because of Ferguson that we're doing this, but those who have been doing it their whole life, now you can say, see? Now you can ask questions like what you asking. What if he just paid for the switches?
Yeah, that's what, like, hold us accountable. You know,
Right, hold us accountable, but see, here's the accountability.
Doesn't take away from what the officer did.
No, of course it doesn't take away from it, but you know what? Let's keep it real. It might. It might. I know what you're saying, but what your first question is deeper.
Yeah.
What if he just paid for the switches? Why are you in there like that to begin with?
Absolutely.
Why are you going to give yourself, you know they want to kill us anyway, but you're going to put yourself in that situation. That's something, that's real. That's a real discussion to have amongst black families.
Absolutely.
That's a real discussion to have. So, I mean, that's the answer to that.
Well, thank you. My name is Lucky Dallas. KCRH 89.9 FM, East Bay's best variety. You can stand here with our people. This is Big Reed, this is DJ Tussie, and Miss Silky. And, man, from Chabot, we thank you for coming for show.
You know what? You asked the questions. Wait a minute. Are there any other questions?
I do got one more question for you because we're the future of radio. We're moving on to that next level soon.
No doubt.
Now, my thing is with us, because earlier you said you don't really like radio.
Right.
What can we do to change that? What type of content can we provide for our shows, for our listeners, for our demographics, and what can we do at the next level to try to fix what radio is today?
If you are, wow. Your question is two levels. It's two levels. One is that radio is its own beats. Broadcasting is its own beats. I'm talking about hip hop on radio. Now, radio is its own thing. It's just as just be the best broadcaster you possibly can, because even in the policies of broadcasting, like for instance, the FCC, they've broken all their rules. That's why the radio sounds the way it does. The FCC's not policing nothing. They don't represent the people, nothing, okay? So if individual DJs or programmers would follow the FCC regulations themselves, things like you have to give the news every 5 minutes at the top of the hour, give the weather, give the time, tell the local community what's going on in the local community. Stations are programmed now from Texas, Clear Channel, wherever they program from. You got somebody like, you in California, actually you in Oakland, let me say you in California and you're hearing music from Texas.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? You're in, and on top of that, California MCs can't get on California radio. That's a violation of FCC rules. That's not supposed to happen. The radio is supposed to allot time for the community, even commercial radio. That's why commercial radio doesn't have to pay for its license. you get it through bidding. You know, you get your license. No commercial radio station pays for their license. They got it through bidding. So because it's free. It's actually free to be on the radio. So you're supposed to actually be representing the public, the people, but the FCC just dissed all of that. Like I was saying at the beginning of the Gulf War, 1991, they just dissed all of that. Colin Powell's son, remember Colin Powell was the lead general of the he was the head of the Joint Chief of Staff. He architected the war, the invasion into Iraq, Colin Powell. Well, his son was the head of the FCC at the time they started the Gulf War. And right when his son, right when Colin Powell, announced the war and said, we saw the weapons of mass destruction, that's when they took all conscious hip hop off the radio. Anything promoting community, togetherness, any knowledge, any of that, they took it off the radio in 91. Now, we said this, and we documented it. You could go online. There's an organization called HEAL, Human Education Against Lies, where we argued in 1991 because they invaded Iraq like in 1990, 91. They started talking about that they invaded in 91. And then they told the American people the war was over. They invaded in 91. They said the war is over. We won. George Bush went and declared victory. But hip hop is global. I was getting phone calls from my dudes in Iraq saying, yo, Chris, it's just starting. They kicking in doors out here. They running up in people's houses. Yo, we clipping up. This is my dudes in Iraq. They like, yo, this is crazy what's going on. So I went to the American people in 1991 and I said, the war is not over. Don't believe what you see on the television. The war is just beginning. And everybody said, oh, Chris, you preaching too much. Oh, you just a conscious rapper. Let's just turn on some nonsense. And that's what happened. That's precisely what happened. So now come back to your question. What can we do in radio, just on the radio side? First, follow the law. First, follow the law. That's number one. No hip-hop DJ should be breaking the laws. None. We should be following the law. We should be the exemplification of the law. Number two.
Quick question. So they not following the rules of FCC?
No.
So, okay.
No, the FCC has broken every one of their rules. They are not. They're on some other thing. The FCC is the Federal Communication Commission. Is appointed by the Constitution. The Federal Communication Commission is not in the Constitution, but the properties of the United States, or what's called, it's paragraph 8 in the Constitution that deals with copyright law. And copyright law, this is where the radio state, this is where broadcasting gets its authority from the chapter 8 in terms of copyright law, publishing, the right to take someone's intellectual property and make money on it. That's protected by the Constitution. That's why it's called copyright. Who has the right to copy? Who has the right to copy? Only the originator of something has the right to copy his or herself, unless you sign that copyright over to another entity like a record company or somebody else and so on. So what happened was when the Patriot Act came into view, the Constitution got put aside and so did the FCC. So in a way, they're not breaking their laws, they're just not enforcing them to be more accurate. And so if you don't enforce laws, you're breaking them. Because of the Patriot Act is why it's going down like that. They're not necessarily negligent unto themselves. It's just the whole federal system has been put aside for what is called the Patriot Act.
Well, I got a question for you. So the whole system, I guess, was not designed for us.
No.
But there's another system that was designed for us
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes.
Like, can we just use that system?
Not necessarily. To use that system, you have to form a nation. The system that we had before this system is called our nation. This is how we were defeated. this is what that is. We gave up our nation. We gave it up. When you read in history, you go back to the ancients of black people to the modern. Somebody like Charles Taylor of Sierra Leone, President Charles Taylor. You know, during the 90s, hip hop was like, I got the ice on, I'm icy, I'm so high, the diamonds, the platinum. But in Africa, Charles Taylor was cutting the hands, well, not him, but his regime to get those, what they call blood diamonds. There was a movie called Blood Diamonds. Well, while rappers in America going ice up, and those were blood diamonds. And Charles Taylor, the president, was accused of being, the criminal that allowed these young people to have their hands chopped off if he was even suspected of stealing one of these diamonds. But Charles Taylor wasn't the original one to cut off hands. In fact, it was the first king of Belgium who was the first to cut off African hands if they didn't come up with the quota for rubber. They were in the rubber business. So this idea of cutting off African hands, this concept, we do this to ourselves first.